Okay, so picture this. You're engrossed in a book, really connecting with the characters and the story, and then bam, you find out it wasn't written by a human at all, but by AI. Would that change how you felt about what you read, the emotional impact?
It's a question a lot of people are grappling with these days, especially as AI starts creating things we used to think were exclusively human domains. You've hit on something really crucial here, this idea of what makes us unique, what that spark of creativity really is.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've got this article by Roel Smelt. He worked closely with Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt, the genius behind the theory of constraints and those thinking processes. And Smelt's article really digs into this question that feels so relevant right now. Can machines actually be creative, or are they just really, really good at imitation?
It's a question with huge implications, not just for the art world, but for how we see ourselves.
Totally. And what makes Smelt's perspective so fascinating is that he saw what you might call genius firsthand working with Goldratt. There's this anecdote in the article where they're brainstorming, stuck on this logistical nightmare of a problem. Suddenly, Goldratt just lights up a total eureka moment, a complete breakthrough. Smelt says you can practically feel the creative energy in the room.
It's a perfect example of how humans innovate, how we're wired to solve problems.
Mm.
Those thinking processes, Goldratt, develop incredibly powerful tools, right? They provide a framework, a way to approach challenges strategically. But those breakthroughs, the aha moments, those come from the human mind, from that spark, not from an algorithm.
So the tools can help, but they're not the source of the spark itself.
Exactly. And that's at the heart of what we're unpacking here. This idea that creativity is multifaceted. We're talking about emotions, about philosophy, even the nature of consciousness itself. And those examples of Van Gogh's work you mentioned, we're going to circle back to those because they illustrate this point beautifully.
Okay, so we're talking about creativity, something that feels deeply human, almost magical. But then we've got AI coming in, seemingly doing all these things we thought were uniquely ours. I mean, you've got this AI-generated painting that sold at Christie's for over $400,000. It's enough to make anyone question what creativity even means anymore.
Right, and it forces us to ask some tough questions. If a machine can produce something that's deemed as valuable and desirable as a human-created artwork, what does that say about the nature of creativity itself? Are we essentially being forced to redefine it for the age of AI?
Exactly. It's one thing for AI to beat us at chess, but composing music, creating art that people will spend a fortune on, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around that?
The key is understanding how AI operates, at least for now. It's about pattern recognition and prediction on a massive scale. Think about a program like GPT-3. It's analyzed mountains of text, right? So it's learned to predict the statistical likelihood of one word following another.
So when we see GPT-3 spitting out a poem, it's not because it's feeling inspired or drawing on some deep well of personal experience.
Exactly. It's playing an incredibly advanced game of what comes next.
Mm.
It's mimicking the output of human creativity without the actual thought processes, the emotions, the lived experiences that drive it.
So it's like the ultimate mimic, right? Like if I fed an AI every song Mozart ever wrote, it might be able to generate something that sounds like Mozart, but it wouldn't actually be Mozart.
A perfect analogy.
Mm.
And it highlights this crucial difference between creation, which is driven by that human element we've been talking about, and imitation, which is where AI currently excels.
Which is both incredible and a little unnerving when you really think about it. Knowing how AI operates, it makes you wonder if there's something fundamentally missing. And that brings us to a point this article keeps coming back to. Consciousness. Is that the secret ingredient AI lacks? Is that what separates true creativity from sophisticated mimicry?
Ah, consciousness. Now that's where things get really interesting. And that's where we're headed next.
Okay, so we're trying to pin down this idea of AI creativity. And now we're venturing into the realm of consciousness. Feels like we're going even deeper into the rabbit hole here.
It's a tricky concept, consciousness. But think about it like this. It's that inner world we all have, right? Our thoughts, our feelings, all those memories we carry, those flashes of insight, those aha moments.
Yeah.
It's what makes you you.
I'm following you so far. But how does this inner world idea connect back to AI trying to make art, write music, all of that?
It's the fuel, that inner world, that consciousness. It's what drives human creativity. Think about a musician pouring their heartache into a song or an artist putting their deepest fears onto a canvas. They're drawing on that well of personal experience. And that's something AI, as we know it, doesn't have access to, at least not in the same way.
So when we look at, say, a Van Gogh painting, you're saying it's not just pretty colors. It's like his whole inner world is woven into those brushstrokes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Van Gogh's art wasn't created in some emotionless vacuum. It was shaped by his struggles, his joys, his unique way of seeing the world because of who he was. An AI might be able to mimic his style, how he put paint on canvas, but could it ever replicate the feeling that went into creating it? That raw human experience.
It's like there's a difference between looking at a photograph of a sunset and actually standing there feeling the warmth on your skin.
Precisely. And it's even more than that. Remember, the article mentioned 100 Years of Solitude. Think
Yeah.
about the sheer scope of that novel, the history, the family sagas, that magical realism. It reflects Marquez's own background, his understanding of Colombian culture and history. These weren't just data points to him. They were woven into his very being. AI can process information, but can it ever really understand it the way a human who's lived and breathed that culture can?
It's a powerful distinction.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? We've got AI, incredibly powerful at what it does, but lacking that inner world, that consciousness. But could it ever develop those things? What does Smelt say about that? Could AI become conscious?
That's the million-dollar question. And to be honest, even the experts are divided. Some people, they believe that as AI keeps evolving, learning to process information in more complex ways, it could eventually develop something like consciousness.
So you're saying AI could have its own Eureka moments, maybe compose a symphony about the existential dread of being plugged into the wall. Kind of a mind-blowing concept.
It really is. But even if AI could simulate those feelings, would they have the same weight? Would they have the same authenticity? The same connection to what it means to have lived a life, to have those experiences shape who you are the way they do for humans?
And if an AI wrote a piece of music and it sounded just as beautiful, just as heartbreaking as something a human composed, would we experience it the same way, knowing it didn't come from that same place of genuine feeling? That's where things get really interesting, right?
Absolutely. And that's where we'll pick things up after a quick break.
So we're talking about AI potentially creating art that's technically brilliant, maybe even emotionally resonant, but coming from algorithms, not actual experience. It makes you wonder, does it really change how we experience art, knowing it wasn't a human, behind it?
It really gets to the heart of why we value art in the first place. Is it purely about the finished product, the way a song makes you feel, the emotions a painting stirs up? Or is there something more, something deeper, about knowing another human being poured their heart and soul into creating it?
Yeah, it's like I can appreciate a perfectly symmetrical flower, the colors, the way the petals are arranged, but knowing nature created it, through evolution, it adds a whole other layer.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Mhm.
And it gets to what Smelt's article touches on, this idea that human creativity isn't just about skill. It's about our connection to something bigger than ourselves. When we create, we're tapping into our shared history, our collective experience. It's that raw human element that really resonates with us.
Which brings us back to that big question. Can AI ever be truly creative? If it doesn't have that connection to human experience, that sense of self, can it ever really create something that truly moves us, speaks to what it means to be human?
That's the question, isn't it?
Mm.
And it's one we'll probably be grappling with for a long time as AI evolves and becomes even more ingrained in our lives. But maybe the real takeaway here isn't about whether AI can perfectly replicate human creativity, but about what we as humans value in those creations. If we believe that human spark is essential, if that's what gives art its meaning, then it's on us to nurture that.
To make space for it, even alongside AI.
Absolutely. To support human artists, to encourage creativity in education, to foster environments where those eureka moments can still happen. Because in the end, whether AI can replicate them or not, it's those human experiences that give them meaning.
It's a powerful thought to end on. As we marvel at the capabilities of AI, it's crucial to remember and nurture the creativity within ourselves and in future generations. Who knows what incredible art, what groundbreaking innovations will come from that wellspring of human creativity?